true, true,
True.
Yeah. Let's go.
True.
Let's go.
True.
You're. What's good with y'all? What's good? How y'all feeling? You know what I'm saying? Early in the morning, you already know the vibes. Wake your ass up. What's good? We got Besco in the building. Shout out to my guy Besco. You know what I'm saying? We got Pay up in this bitch early. Let's go, chat. Let's go. Let's go. Emote the fucking chat. Ooh, that's your daily ASMR right there. Need that coffee. We got PR in the building. You know what I'm saying? We got Ronnie in the building, so y'all already know it's a party. Let's go. What's good? How y'all feeling? Good morning. Good morning. Y'all know the vibes. Y'all know the vibes. I be disappearing on a weekend. Somebody not all the time I get asked, but somebody asked me like, what do you do on the weekend? Right? Oh, shout out to the 7-year anniversary. Shout out to the birthday. Let's go. Happy birthday. Happy anniversary. Yo, 7 years is a long time. We'll get back to the weekend stuff, but 7 years is a long time. Shout out to that, man. W walking into work. I feel that. Gotta get that money. You know what I'm saying? Advil. Advil. I appreciate that. Y'all know I love when y'all tell me it's ads, right? So for the people who don't have ads, people will tell me when it's ads because I like to see how long they run. I'm still trying to get used to that, right? This is a channel where we learn also, and maybe that could be something that we learn, right? We need to learn how to operate ads. How do we control the ads, right? It seems so simple, right? You go to monetization, you go to ads, and then you have all these options here. Enable to have ads manager automatically schedule video ads on your channel. That's what I currently have. Pre-roll ads, fully disabled. I don't have a choice but to do the minimum of 3 minutes because I tried to have it at the lowest, but then they added pre-rolls. So it's like it's no way around it. So they do have the manual, right? Says select automatic to have ads manager adjust ad length and frequency based on available ad demand and time of year. This will help Twitch determine optimal settings to improve your ad revenue and viewership. So I definitely need to spend time with that. I'm still gonna keep pre-roll off whatever I need to do. I just feel like at the moment running ads before I gotta think about it, right? Because our pre-roll ads really that bad? Shout out to Pay for the biddies. Let's go, starting it off strong. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate you too, brother. Look at that, chat. Who is that in the biddies? Who is that? That looked like it could be either Cam Newton or it can be Lenny Kravitz. Like, who is that, chat? Do y'all go through that sometimes when y'all using emotes or biddies or anything and y'all like, who is this? I don't know who it is, but I'm going to use it, right? Who's Kappa, right? Shout out to Ramona in the building, chat. Shout out to all my Kiwis. Y'all know the vibe. Our resident future, our person from the future has arrived. Or do we say she was technically here before us? I'm still trying to figure out how time travel works. But we got Ramona in the building and W3-month subscription. You feel me? You feel me? Like, first of all, Ramona got hella badges. What that 3-month subscription badge looking like? Show us that 3-month badge. You feel me? Everyone you should have a badge now. And if for some reason you don't have a badge, I'll double check to see why that is. But chat, as you know, I was making upgrades to my channel and we got badges. You know what I'm saying? The channel does have badges. The channel got W for the fucking biddies. Pay going crazy. Cam Newton. Shout out Cam Newton. Many of y'all probably know this, but Cam Newton is on Twitch. And shout out to Crystal. Crystal, his mod, right? Crystal comes in here sometimes. You know, Crystal lurks around sometimes. But shout out to Crystal. She's Cam Newton's mod. She comes in here, chat. She's a really cool person. But Cam Newton be on there playing Madden. And you can challenge him. The crazy thing is, I randomly ended up on his channel one day because I was, I still do what I do, right? Because I've been here for a little over 70 days now. Shout out to that. We'll call it W fucking 70 days, right? We're almost at 3 months at being a streamer. So W that, right? But I do what I always do, which is I lurk all over Twitch because I'm trying to find new people. I'm trying to find cool people, trying to find people who are relatable, people who do IRL. Shout out to Besco. Appreciate you coming through, my man. You feel me? Always feel free to lurk. You know what I'm saying? But I try to find new people, new pages that I enjoy, etc. Right? And one day I was like, oh, okay. I'm going across this one page, and based on the name of the page, I have to assume that the streamer has children. So I go and I'm watching it, and I'm in there chilling, watching. I'm like, okay, it's cool. You know, somebody playing Madden. This is early on when I first got on Twitch, right? So I'm like, okay, playing Madden. Okay, cool. Like, you know, I know a lot of people game on there. And shout out to Pay, he making us turn up. We gotta turn up, chat. We gotta turn up. We got to turn up, chat. We got to turn up, chat. We got a doggo in the building. We got biddies. We got to turn up, chat. I got to get some alerts, too. Baby steps, right? It is a marathon, not a sprint. We going to get all of that in due time. Y'all see we got the starting screen. Shout out to anybody who was here and saw that intro. If that's your first time seeing that intro, W's in the chat. W's in the chat. That's our intro. We've been doing that intro for a couple weeks now. You know what I'm saying? I do that for starting off every of broadcast, I guess you call it. Yo, go play that. Go play that nigga, Pay. But yeah, I'm watching him play Madden, and then all of a sudden I start hearing yelling, and then I'm like, wait, is that Cam Newton? I'm like, what the hell? Shout out to Cam Newton. Yeah, he be on there playing Madden though. I'll be watching some random people. Ray J be on Twitch. Ray J is a funny dude, man. Ray J be on there. T-Pain be on there. Yo, T-Pain got the Midas touch, bro. Like, if y'all not familiar with the Midas touch, that is King Midas, right? Who was a Greek god, and everything he touched turned to gold. Yo, I believe that T-Pain got that Midas touch, bro. Like, it doesn't matter like what he does. This guy just becomes, I don't want to say instantly successful, because I don't want to discredit T-Pain, right? But he acquires so much success tremendously fast, right? Like, chat, I don't know if y'all know this about Tallahassee Payne, right? But this man T-Pain, again, this is just what I read on the internet, but T-Pain is a gamer now, and he makes more money gaming than he did making music. I don't know if y'all know who we talking about, but T-Pain has made a lot of money from music. I still listen to T-Pain today. I mean, why wouldn't I, right? I play T-Pain for my kids. You know what I'm saying? Lil Baby, my 3-year-old, oh, he loves some T-Pain. You know what I'm saying? Love some T-Pain, but T-Pain be gaming, right? Gaming, chat, I know I switch gears a lot. Gaming is not, I wouldn't say it's overwhelming, but it's definitely a little difficult. As someone who's newer or getting back into gaming, it's a task trying to keep up. Because I really just learned how to play Fortnite. I'm not even good. I haven't even played it that many times. And then I switched over to Call of Duty, right? So now I'm learning the ropes around Call of Duty. And I play Call of Duty. But then the Power Rangers came out on Fortnite. Like, I got to catch up, chat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, T-Pain is definitely the GOAT. People who can, like, switch up are goated in themselves, right? People who can do this one thing and then switch around and do a completely different thing are completely goated. You know what I'm saying? But chat, yeah, gaming is definitely the shit. For sure, right? And it's such a adrenaline rush, you know what I'm saying? Like, let me tell y'all, right? So this is why I'm not completely, and if you may have heard this before, right? Because I talk a lot, so I may have said it before, right? I am not completely oblivious to playing games, especially when it comes to games like Call of Duty. I just have not played in a long time, right? When I was in college, there were 3 games that we played on campus, right? 3 games in particular that most people would play, and we competed all the time. Number 1, Madden, right? Y'all know the rules, right? 21 skunk, right? 21 hand over the sticks, right? You got to punt on 4th down, right? We played with real rules. So you ain't got somebody who's 4th and 30 and they catch some BS because they just randomly decide to throw a Hail Mary. Like, nah, we're not doing none of that, right? We're obviously playing on all Madden, right? So I don't want to call it the new rule, but the new rule that I'm finding, because when people used to play Madden, they would just choose their own team, right? Choose your favorite team, right? Go wild. If you want to use whoever the greatest quarterback, right? At that time, Mike Vick. If you want to use Mike Vick, go ahead. It's not about the players you're using, it's about how good you play the game, right? But one of the rules I found out now is because I don't technically own a recent Madden. I don't think. No, I don't own a recent Madden, chat. But people play your city. Regardless of who your favorite team is. If I'm from DC, I gotta use the Commanders. If you from here, you from Texas, you need to use Texans or Cowboys or whatever. That's how folks play now, which it makes sense, especially when people playing on the internet and stuff. It's like, play your city. You know what I'm saying? You from Baltimore, use the Ravens. Regardless if you don't like the team or not. That's how we keep from all this, oh, I need to switch up teams and all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that was one, chat. Number 2, Halo. Right? We used to divide ourselves in groups. Like even my inner group. So when I was in the dorms, we linked up to the Ethernet and we would run it. We had some crazy ass battle royales, right? With the Halo. Snipers only, swords and snipers, pistols only, shotguns only. We did it all, right? Halo. We even divided ourselves into a group within our inner group where it's like, Halo niggas, right? And 2K niggas, right? Because it's like, we all was gaming. But it's like every now and again, the 2K niggas would put down the 2K and hop on the Halo, right? They link up. Everybody on the Ethernet, they get on there and they would get absolutely slaughtered. But then every now and again, the Halo niggas would put down the Halo and hop on 2K. And they would get absolutely obliterated. It didn't matter what they played. Like, you know how many times I got cooked in the dunk contest, chat? You know what I'm saying? Exactly. N64, PlayStation, Xbox, GameCube, Wii. Not only did I play them all, I still have them all, literally right here behind me, except for the GameCube. I don't have a GameCube, but I do have all those other systems. There's the Wii, the Switch, N64, the Xbox, got the PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? Halo, man, all the time. Like Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 4. You know what I'm saying? That leads me to the next game, chat. Call of Duty. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Listen. When you got that red dot scope, GG's. GG's, chat. You get that red dot scope, it was absolute GG's. Especially if I was playing or one of my homeboys was playing, because at one point we switched from Halo to Call of Duty. It's like, oh man, they got similar kind of aspects to it, but Call of Duty is more realistic, right? The red dot scope. I used to be on there all night, chat. All night. Like, listen, if I was streaming back then, I would absolutely, easily do an 8-hour stream. Easily. Got to get that coffee. Got to. So gaming, you know what I'm saying? But the point of that story is, now that I'm getting back on Call of Duty, I am some absolute shit. But I at least understand the concept, right? So it's much different than someone who's like never played the game before. Like I have a lot of games that Pendumare gave me, and if and when I play some of those games, it'll be the first time I ever played the game, and I'll be completely lost, right? But for now, Call of Duty, I'm not lost. I'm just not as good as everyone else yet. You feel me? But yeah, what do I do on the weekends? The weekends can consist of anything, chat. Literally anything. Literally anything. You know what I'm saying? I did a lot of working out this weekend. I chilled with my folks. I went to the chat. I'm not encouraging any type of gambling or anything like that. I wasn't really gambling like that. I did gamble a little bit, but I went to the casino. I went to the casino, learned how to play craps. Right. That's one thing that True just didn't learn. I just never learned growing up. I didn't learn it as an adult. I never learned how to play craps. So I went to the casino and I learned how to play craps for the most part. At least know how to play craps in the casino. I wouldn't dare play craps on the street. So that's one of the things that I did do this weekend. And I'm going to tell y'all 2 stories, right? The first about my first encounter with craps. The second being when I went to the casino this weekend. So the first time I played craps, chat, had to be 6 years ago. I was chilling by myself. I was in Vegas. I was in Vegas by myself. You know, I went there for work, chat. I was in Vegas and I'm like, oh, I got a lot of time to, do whatever I want to do. It's hella casinos. Let me see what they talking about. I said, let me go into the casino. I went into the casino. And normally, I don't mind playing slots. I'll play a slot machine because gambling is gambling. Like, either you're going to win or you're not. I don't care. So I'll play a slot machine. But I'm like, let me see if I can see what's good. I'm watching. That's been my thing lately, too. Every time if I go in a casino or something, I like to learn different games. Right? So I ended up at the craps table. And I'm just standing there. I have no idea what's going on. But me, not only am I a quick learner, but I will sit there and study until I figure something out. So then I figured out one thing, right? I figured out one thing, chat, right? And if you're a craps player or if you gamble, I'm not encouraging gambling. If you do, that's fine and dandy. If you play craps or anything, you understand what I'm talking about. But the one thing I learned, chat, was that when someone rolls the dice and they land on a number that isn't 7 or 11, they have a little chip that says on or off. They turn it on, right? That's what I learned. It was my first time. I had no idea what I was looking for. I had no idea how anything works, but that's one thing that I was able to pick up on. When someone rolls a number, they turn the chip on and they put on and they sit it on that number. I said, all right, bet, I'm learning. And then I'm sitting there watching for a couple minutes as people rolling and slowly going around the table, and I'm watching. Then there's this dude that is kind of in a vicinity. So I go, you look like you really understand what's going on. He said, yeah, I play craps all the time. He said, have you played craps before? I said, I've never played before. I said, this is my first time actually stopping at a craps table to even watch them play. I mean, I've seen it in Ocean's 11 and all that other stuff, but I never actually did it. So chat, this man proceeds to explain the game of craps to me. He explained it, chat. Like he sat there and told me all these details thoroughly. And he explained a little bit of strategy and things like that. That was years ago. After that, he said, all right, let's give it a shot. The dice making his way around the table. I get the dice, chat. They put all these dice on the table. He's like, pick your 2 favorite dice. I pick my 2 favorite dice. Right? I roll it. Just like I saw before. On. They flip the chip, right? I roll again, right? They turn the chip off, right? I said, dang. So what just happened? He said, so you rolled the same number, right? So they turn it on when you roll the number, and when you roll that number again, they turn it off. So I said, okay, cool. but I didn't crap out, right? So I'm like, so what happens now? He's like, you can roll again. So I said, all right, I rolled again. Boom, they turn the chip on. Now at this point, these folks at the crap table, they know what's going on. They can see it in my eyes. They can see it in my roll. They can see it. This nigga don't know what he doing. I roll the joint, chat. On. Somebody go, yeah, let me bet this number. Let me bet this number. Let me bet this number. People start betting. I'll roll a number different than the number that I had rolled initially. So let's say my on number was 8, right? I rolled an 8. They turned it on. The next number I rolled, chat, 6, right? Folks got paid. Whoever bet a 6 got paid, right? And then let me tell you how crazy this story ends up getting. So this dude is teaching me all the intricacies. Why did I end up at this table, chat, for almost 2 hours? Rolling these dice. They didn't let me leave, chat. They never let me leave the table because I kept rolling the same number. Most of the time I was there, I was rolling the same number. Can I remember what number it is? I cannot. So let's make up a number and say it was 6, right? I kept rolling the same number. And the dude picked up on it and other people picked up on it. So people were betting and betting and betting and winning money, right? I was betting a little bit. So I was still winning some money. But this dude who was teaching me was also giving me money at this point. And I'm like, so how long do I roll? He's like, I'm going to be honest with you. You keep rolling the same number and people are making money. Were other people at the table breaking me off, chat? No, they weren't. But this dude was definitely giving me money. I'm like, this dude is just literally giving me money because he's making money off these rolls. I don't completely understand everything, but he's teaching me and I'm slowly understanding. So he's giving me money. And he's like, I'm going to be real with you. Like, you're rolling the same number. You could be here as long as it takes. like what you have to understand about this craps table is that you have a hot hand right now. So people are making money. Like my chip, my chip never turned off. Once it turned on that second time, chat, it literally stayed on for almost 2 hours. I was just in there rolling, just rolling the same way for almost 2 hours, right? I wait between each roll, give people a chance to place bets, then I roll. You know what I'm saying? So people were definitely making money. I was like, whew, I was in there for a minute rolling. He said, I mean, that's a good thing because you're making money. But he's like, trust me. He said, he said, the longest I've been in here and seen someone roll, he said one lady came in here and she was rolling and she ended up staying on the table for 10 hours. He said, I've heard of people standing on the table longer than that, but that's the longest I've seen. He said, I've seen a lady stay on for 10 hours because they're not going to let you leave. You're like a good luck charm. And you rolling and people making money, it's like, oh, we're here at this table at the right time. We got the right person rolling. None of that, right? So I made some money. Dude gave me money, right? Nobody else was really giving me money. I didn't know, and not like, oh, I'm making you money, give me money type of thing. No, it's the casino, right? Every man for himself, technically. So after I was rolling for like 2 hours. Then I went and I was like, I made some bread. That was the end of my gambling night. And I went to end up at, ended up at what? I think it was Gordon Ramsay or somewhere I had went to get some food from. You know what I'm saying? So fast forward to this weekend, chat. I got back on the craps table. Only thing I really remember was how the chip turns on and off. That's all I really remember. I couldn't remember anything else. What it meant. So my friend was telling me. And he was like, yeah, but also let me teach you about etiquette, right? Let me teach you about craps etiquette. So he's teaching me about craps etiquette. right? We at the table. You know what I'm saying? We having a good time. I'm learning again how to play craps again. I kept trying to do the risky bets. He was like, don't do that. You don't want to do that. But I kept trying to push. I'm like, I need to play this because I remember from when I was in Vegas, I'm like, me and the dude, we kept playing this area. And he was like, nah. He said that's a one rule area. You only do that when you betting with house money. So I'm like, all right, I'm listening. Fast forward, chat. I'm rolling. I'm doing pretty good. I keep rolling even numbers, right? So I'm rolling these even numbers, chat. And these dudes, you know what I'm saying? These dudes that was kind of near me, kind of locked in, was like, oh, bet. And I could kind of tell they were definitely like the type of guys that's like, all right, we're going to come in real quick. We got a couple dollars. Let's try to run it up a little bit and we out. So they came in, they was making some bread, putting it on the table. I kept rolling even numbers, right? That was this weekend, chat. I kept rolling even numbers. So we bet. We making some money, right? Then out of nowhere, as I'm rolling, this dude comes, right? He comes up to the table. He took his money. He just threw it right down in the middle of the table, right? He wanted to get in the game. He hadn't stood there for a second to observe what was going on or anything, right? He came, he threw his money right down on the table. The dude that gave me the dice looking at me like, you can still roll. I'm like, no, I'm not going to roll with me. His money right in the middle of the table. Like, that's in my rolling path, right? And my boy whispered to me, he's like, remember I was telling you about the etiquette? He said, that's one of them things that you're not supposed to do. He's like, just watch for a second. As I'm holding the dice before I roll, chat, after this dude threw his money on the table, most of the people at the table was like, yeah, dealer, can you turn my bet off? Let me close out my bet. Everybody started taking their bets off the table. I guess it just ruined the whole, you know what I'm saying? That was one of the things I was unaware of. But I just felt like, dang, why he just come and just, you know what I'm saying? I'm rolling, we grooving, and then just out of nowhere, he throw his little, money on the table trying to get in the game. Like he wasn't watching, observing, or nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because the etiquette of it is watch what's going on and you can hop in. Short story, right after that chat, I rolled, crapped out, and I was like, okay, left the table. He ruined it, chat. He ruined what could have been another long night of me rolling at the table. But that's one of the things I did this weekend. But I went out with the guys. We had a guys' night. Ladies had a ladies' night. That's what we do sometimes. It's always good to hang out with your friends, catch up with them. So I had a good time. And to update you guys on another thing I did this weekend, I went back to school shopping. Not for myself, obviously, for my children. So yeah, I know I've been dealing with finding my kids a new school and getting little baby in a school, all that. But little baby is officially registered in a preschool, chat. If you know, right? Y'all know I've been dealing with some stuff around that. But we got him in a place. And we went and we got his school supplies. We got his little, his little school uniforms. We lit, chat. Both of the boys are almost completely ready for school. Right? We still need to determine little baby's book bag situation. We need to determine like lunch boxes. But other than that, chat, I feel good. We just got to submit some more documents today. But yeah, it's been a long journey, and the summer's almost over because little baby, my 3-year-old, starts. We were able to choose his start date, right? So he starts next Monday. So we got a lot to do this week. My oldest son starts the week after. So since and if you're new here, right? Everyone had to find a new school. That's the short story. So we didn't want them to start on the same day, especially since we had the ability to choose the date that my youngest son can start because he's in a preschool. So it's like 2 year olds to 5 year olds in there. And they go there year round because a lot of parents got to work, right? So it's like choose the date you want to start. And then, we go from there. So we chose next Monday as his start date. So we're like, all right, let's get a good weekend, not weekend, but a good week in so we can figure out his schedule, the flow of the school, all that before we have to add in my oldest son, right? Your boy Lextron to the mix and taking him to his new school. But that's a fucking W, chat. You know what I'm saying? That's a huge W because we were dealing with that and now we finally get to take a little breather. Finally at the end of summer. And that shit it's been going on and we had to get all this stuff together to the point where it's like we never got to take a full week anywhere to vacation or more or you know what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with that. We took a couple of weekends, but in the summertime we try to take the kids to do something. So we got basically a week left before school starts for the youngest and then 2 weeks before it starts with the oldest. If we can squeeze in another beach weekend real quick, that would be perfect. Will we be able to? I don't know, chat. I don't know. It's a lot going on. I don't know if we'll be able to do it. But if we can, hey, listen, we're going to turn up. You feel me? But yeah, a lot goes on the weekend. So that's why I step away. I don't stream. I keep it pushing. You feel me? But yeah, as y'all can see, y'all know the vibes. Y'all know y'all boy can talk. I can talk and talk and talk. But yeah, what's good with y'all, How are y'all feeling? How are you guys feeling? How y'all feel about learning? You know what I'm saying? Y'all feel like y'all learned something? Well, you definitely learned about my weekend, I can tell you that. But if y'all want to learn something, I could teach y'all something. You know what I was thinking about doing, chat? And y'all can tell me in the chat if y'all want. I was thinking, especially like on Mondays, because it kind of starts the week off. And I think I want to do that, I don't want to make this, this channel is a variety streamer type of channel. So we learn about all things. We learn about Twitch. We learn about troubleshooting. We learn about all kinds of things. But I would like to learn additional things with you guys. And one of the things I was thinking about is learning about stocks, right? I'm going to say this until my tongue falls out. I am not a financial advisor, right? So anything you ever hear me mention about stocks, investing, etc., is for entertainment purposes only, chat. Right? Shout out to Ronnie. You feel me? So that's what I was thinking. So I want to start off slow. And I kind of want to teach and learn at the same time because investing, chat, when used correctly, listen, y'all heard it before, but when you're investing, chat, and you know how to do it properly, I mean, this is a new way to increase your income, right? Because some people, for example, are on Twitch to make money. Would that be an eventual goal for me to make money? Yeah, I definitely want to make money. Everything I do, I want to make bread, right? Because that only improves your quality of life and your lifestyle and the things that you're able to do. But when you know how to invest and you know how to make money outside of physical labor or an active managed job, right? Not active income, which is you physically going to work, you doing something to be paid, you get passive income. start using that money to work for you, right? Chat, listen. And I think I want to take it from the beginning. You feel me? I do want to take it from the beginning, right? And what I mean in the beginning, like, let's start it off right now, right? And I do have some experience, but I'll take it from the beginning with you guys as well. So that way you learn. And I think Monday is a good time to do it because for me, I'm going to tell you, chat, for me, Monday is one of those days where it's like, all right, if I want to make some moves for the week, Monday is typically a good day to do that, right? And when I say moves, if I want to make some investments, if I want to purchase some stocks or do whatever it is I do in my investment strategy, Monday is a good day to plan for it, right? Because right now is what they call pre-market. This means this is the current time before the stock market opens. I'm located on the East Coast, so we're talking about the New York Stock Exchange. It's not currently open, chat, right? So this is what they call pre-market. But for any of you who are here and it's like, what is he talking about? We're talking about stocks. And on Monday, I'm thinking like, if we just piece it, eventually folks going to get up to speed where, listen, y'all going to start making money on your own. But let's read, right? What is a stock, chat? A stock, also known as a share, represents partial ownership in a company. When you buy a stock, you become a shareholder and you own a small piece of that company, right? This ownership can entitle you to a portion of the company's profits through dividends and potentially allow you to vote on company matters, right? Companies issue stock to raise capital for various purposes, such as expanding operations or paying off debt, right? So let's look at that for a second. And then they have a little bit more details. The stock is ownership, right? Let's choose a random product that's not really random. Let's just take, my bad, chat. You see that, chat? It's an iPhone. Let's take the iPhone, for example. iPhone is a product under Apple. Apple is the name of the company, right? If you buy, chat, if you buy one share of Apple, meaning you buy a stock, right? Just as the definition has explained to us, it gives you a small ownership in that company. If you buy one share of Apple stock at this present moment, it will cost you $229.35, chat. What does that mean? That means for $229.35, you can buy one share of Apple. And that means you own a very small piece of the company Apple. That's what it means, right? Again, we're starting off at the very basics, right? And I know some of you out there know all of this like the back of your hand, but some people don't. So if we start at the basics and we build people up, oh, you'd be amazed at where we can go, right? Because first of all, again, I'm not a financial advisor, but your boy True, I know a little something. So you can think about that, right? And I tell people this, when you're first getting into investing, right? That is something that is good to actually think about, is owning a piece of a company. Shout out to Step Back in the building. That's the sound of a 3-pointer right there, chat. Right? Y'all want to hear it again? The step back. Tray ball. Right? Shout out to Step Back. We're talking about stock, Step Back. And we're starting at the very beginning. You feel me? So if you do think about getting into investing, one of the things you could do is just look around your house. Look at some of the things you spend your money on. Some people are better at managing their money than others. That's fine. But everyone has something in their house. If you're living in an apartment, you're living somewhere, you have something that has a product name on it that is owned by a company, and there's a strong chance that company is a publicly traded company. Right? One second, chat, because again, we're starting from the beginning. I said publicly traded company. What is a publicly traded company? Right? A publicly traded company is a company whose shares are traded, meaning bought or sold on a stock exchange, making them available for the public to invest. Apple is a publicly traded company. That means you can go on a stock exchange, right? The New York Stock Exchange, and you can purchase shares of Apple. The more shares you own, the more of the company you own, right? The companies that are publicly traded, chat, are required to disclose financial information to the public, right? This allows investors to assess the company's performance and make informed decisions. You feel me, chat? So what does that mean, right? That means if you decided to buy that one share of Apple for $229.35, you're trusting that company with your money. So in turn, the company needs to tell you what they're doing. They need to tell you how they're spending money, how they're acquiring debt, how they're selling their products. They need to tell you profit margins and all that. I know some of these words might go over some people's head, but in short, they need to tell you how they're operating, right? They can't keep secrets from you because you're allowed to make decisions on your own about whether you want to continue investing in that company or not. You feel me, chat? Y'all feel me? So if I buy one share of Apple for $229.35, I want to know what's going to happen with my money, right? And again, owning that one share of the company entitles you to a portion of the company's profits, right? So if the company pays dividends, let's say they pay a dividend, we'll use a random number, chat. Let's say they pay a dividend of $1, right? A dividend of $1, chat. Before we get into what happens with that dividend when they pay you, let's talk about what is a dividend, right? A dividend is a portion of a company's earnings that it chooses to distribute to its shareholders, essentially a reward for owning a stake in the company, right? So what that means is that one share of Apple said, you know what? We appreciate you for believing in us. Even though you have a very small percentage of our company, you still matter, right, chat? You still matter. And that one share isn't taken for granted. That $229.35 that you gave us to use for company operations helps, right? Because millions of other people do the same thing, and it helps. And it helped us do research and development. It helped us create new product. We're talking about Apple, chat. So you may have helped in even the smallest way them create the next iPhone, right? And that iPhone becomes popular and people buy it and the company makes money. And to show you they appreciate you, they pay a dividend. So they say we made X amount of dollars, so we're going to distribute it to the shareholders, right? You're a shareholder because you purchased a share of the company and you hold it. You hold it in your account, right? So let's say they give you $1 per share, chat. You paid $229.35 for that share. But how much is your account value worth now, chat? It's worth $230.35, right? We're just going to use straight numbers. Because now you have $1 from that dividend they paid you because they decided to value its shareholders. They decided to split the profits with the people owning the stock. You feel me, chat? That's the very beginning stages. That's the very beginning stages. Right? That's the very beginning stages, chat. The more of a company you own, the larger percentage of the company you own, the bigger the decision making, right? So when you hear terms like majority ownership, well, if a company has, let's call it 100 shares available, a majority owner is going to be someone who owns at least 51% of those shares. So in that situation, they will own at least 51 shares, chat. They own more than half the company. That means they control the company. They can make decisions for the company, right? So when you think about people like, just using an example, like Elon Musk and Tesla, right? Why can one person make all of these decisions for a company? Well, if you have majority ownership in the company, you can make those decisions, right? You can think about it in your own house. If you're in a house and you're in a relationship where you have a family or whatever the case is, and you bring in all the money or majority of the money for that house, sometimes it gives you a little bit more authority to make decisions of what happens, right? Because you're the one breaking your back at work. You're the one grinding it out to earn the money. So yeah, you get a say so of what happens with that money. You feel me? Same thing, chat. That's what it means. So again, ownership. Stocks are a way for companies to raise money from investors. They can use the money for a number of different things, right? But when you buy a stock, you're essentially buying a share of the company's equity. So you're buying a piece of that company. That's why sometimes you may hear people say, instead of buying the product, buy the stock. Because the product doesn't pay you. Not all the time. But the stock will. And even that's not all the time. But it's more likely to pay you than owning the product. You feel me, chat? Y'all feel me? You know what I'm saying? So there's different types of stocks, right? So there's common stock, which often comes with voting rights. So if I own a piece of that company, so I get one share of Apple, right? They're going to send me something in the mail when it's time to vote. What are we voting on? Who knows? You can be voting on anything, right? You can vote whether they hire a certain person as being in charge of research and development. You could be voting on, for example, the potential release of a product, right? There's different things you could vote on, right? That's what happens when you get common stock, right? And then you have preferred stock. It has different rights, such as priority and dividend payments. So your stock or your share can be considered common, or it can be considered preferred, in which you get preferential or priority treatment when they go to pay people out, right? So how does that work? Let's talk about that real quick, right? Stock prices fluctuate based on supply and demand, right? In the most basic form, most people understand supply and demand, right? But it does that in the stock market, right? So it goes based on supply and demand, and it goes based on the company's performance. So if the company's doing well, meaning Apple decides to come out with a new iPhone or a new product, and they're like, all right, we're going to release it in September, and they do well, that company's profits, that company being Apple, their profits are going to go up because you're going to have millions and millions of people buying these new iPhones And those, listen, chat, if you know, you know. iPhones cost hella bread. So if they're making these phones, and let's say they're making the phones and it costs them $200 to make and they're selling it for $1,000, they're making $800 per iPhone they sell. Right? If they sell 1 million iPhones, they're going to make $800 million, chat. You feel me? So that's the most simplest form, right? We don't want to get too carried away too quick because I don't want to overwhelm anyone. I want people to absorb that information, right? So from there, I do want to show folks something because I want to get in a rhythm. Because a lot of times, and I'll be real with you, and the reason why, there's a reason why I'm doing this. One, because I want folks to be knowledgeable just about everything. Like, we have so many opportunities available to us, but sometimes people don't know that the opportunities exist, right? People don't know about the Twitch terms of service. People don't know about different things. So I want to be one of those people that educate you on all things, right? I say this to say this. There is a website that I like to go to, which is CNBC, and I'll bring it up on the screen in a second, chat. Right? And this is just getting in a rhythm. So we learn just a little bit. What is a stock? Right? But when we go to CNBC, chat, let me show you. I'm going to bring it up in just a second. Right? I'm going to bring it up in just a second. Okay, here we go. Boom. Right? We can go to CNBC. So we want to start creating habits. And if you want to be an investor, a successful investor, you got to keep your ear in the game. You got to keep your head in the game, chat. That game being the stock market. Yes, a lot of this stuff may look confusing, but don't worry about any of this for now. When we come to CNBC in the morning, we're only really looking at this moment. We're only looking for certain things. One, this banner. You see how it says breaking? Stocks making the biggest moves pre-market. Paramount, Skydance, NVIDIA, C3 AI, Intel, and more, right? A huge part of learning anything, chat, is reading, right? We're not logged in here. We will get logged in, not right at this second. But again, this is an article about the stocks making the biggest moves in the pre-market. And then when you read this information, you understand why they're making the biggest moves. And when they say the biggest moves, chat, they're meaning either up or down, right? They're making money or they're losing money, and they're going to tell you why that's happening. You feel me? But let's go back. So when we come to CNBC in the morning, right, that's one of the things we're looking for. We're looking and see if there's any breaking news, right? We can look here and say stock futures tick higher ahead of key inflation data expected this week, right? We're learning little things about the economy. We're learning little things about the stock market. We're learning how things are operating, chat. Right? So one of the things we look for is just we look at headlines, right? Here's the biggest headline because it's highlighted right here in a big box. What's Trump's NVIDIA and AMD China deal means for the world? What's the deal, chat? Trump got a deal with NVIDIA and AMD and with China. What does it mean? I don't know, but that article is going to tell you, right? Paramount buys UFC rights and $7.7 billion 7-year deal in first major move post Skydance merger. You see that, chat? If you're a fan of UFC, if you're a fan of Paramount bought UFC rights. That means if you without reading the article, I would just assume that means if I have Paramount Plus, chat, if I have Paramount Plus, that means that I can, if not already, at some point, I'll be able to watch UFC matches on Paramount. That's what that means to me, chat. Shout out to Step Back. That boy listening, right? I encourage you, if you are listening, definitely listen. Because y'all hold me to it, but I'm going to try to start talking about this stuff at least on Mondays, right? Because investing, let me go back real quick and we're going to continue, right? Investing, chat, is one of the ways that you can change your life, right? I know everyone doesn't know a ton of stuff about True, but I'm here to tell you now that listen, your boy True be out here grinding. I go full force into everything I do. And I told y'all, I know a lot of things about a lot of things. Or I know a little bit about a lot, right? Because I'm a jack of all trades. I'm a master of none. I haven't mastered the stock market, but I know enough to make money. And trust me, it can change your life, even if it's $100 a week. And trust me, you can get there. But you got to make sure you're paying attention. I'm not a financial advisor, chat. Right? Let's get back to it. So yeah, Step Back. You see that? Paramount buys UFC. Most people know Paramount. Most people know UFC. But I can guarantee you, most people don't know that Paramount just bought the rights to UFC. But it tells you right here. That's why we go to CNBC.com. Right? Bitcoin retakes 120,000. Ether touches 2021 highs after breaking key $4,000 level, right? We're not going to get into levels and all that, but just know retake and breaking a level are good things. That means that crypto is on the rise, chat. Stock futures tick higher ahead of key inflation data expected this week. What does that mean? Inflation data is data that talks about interest rates. We're not going to get too deep into it at the moment, but interest rates determine how the economy operates because it determines how banks can lend money. It can determine how much interest you have to pay back on your debt. It can determine how much your food costs. It can determine a lot of things. So inflation data, meaning how much the price of goods or other things has increased or decreased or will increase or will decrease, that shit matters, chat. They're telling you right there, expected this week, key inflation data. Here's what U.S. automakers are saying about Trump's changing EV policies. Chat, Trump changed EV policies. What has he changed it to? I have no idea. But just know he did, right? So we learned what a stock is. We learned how to buy a share. We know what the share means. But now what we're learning and what we're tuning ourselves into is understanding how decisions made by the government, i.e. our country's president, Trump, companies, how all these decisions affect our everyday lives, right? So EV policies have changed. They could have changed for the better. They could have changed for the worse. You don't know unless you read the article. But we do know one bit of information that a lot of other people don't know, that the EV policies have changed, right? Trump warns homeless to leave Washington, D.C. immediately. He's warning homeless people to leave Washington, D.C. immediately. Chat, I'm in the nation's capital. Well, not at this moment. I live close to it, right? I'm a hop, skip, and a jump. Y'all know that phrase, right? I'm a hop, skip, and a jump away from D.C., right? I'm so close to D.C., if I got up from this chair right now and started driving to D.C., I could probably make it to D.C. before I lose service on this live stream. So he's warning homeless to leave Washington, D.C. immediately. Why? I don't know. Again, we have to read. That's why we read here, chat. But I'll tell you one thing. I can't remember the name of the specific area. And if you know the name of the area, don't hesitate to let me know. But there was basically a homeless like camp, and they just went through and cleared it out. And they further displaced homeless people from their homelessness, right? Shout out to Bree in the building. You know what I'm saying? We got Bree in the building. Bree, we learning about stocks and investing. We're starting from the very basics. So we talked about what a stock is, what a share is, but now we're talking about how to keep. Me and my friends used to use this phrase when we were in college of keep your ear to the earth. Right? What that means is you have to listen to understand what's going on around you, right? And keeping your ear to the earth isn't just about economics, right? It's about all things, right? I went to school in the city. So keeping your ear to the earth, if somebody said that, that can even mean like, yo, it's niggas out here acting stupid. Keep your ear to the earth, meaning stay on your P's and Q's. Make sure you're not in a dangerous area because they could be doing anything, right? Keep your ear to the earth. Listen and know what's going on. That's basically what that means. So we learned about the very, very basics of what it means to own a share and invest. And right now we're learning how to start creating habits to keep our ear to the earth. But this time we're talking about money. We're talking about the economy, chat. And how we do that, Bree, is we go to cnbc.com and we read headlines. And if you see articles that intrigue you, you read the article. Like I'm sure Step Back probably going to go in later and read about Paramount buying UFC. Because I think Step Back is a fan of UFC. And obviously, if not now, we may be able to watch UFC fights on Paramount Plus, right? We can see that Trump is warning homeless folks to leave Washington, D.C. immediately. What does he plan to do if you don't? I don't know. But if he's warning you, I would not mess with this man, bro. I'm just going to tell you that. And I'm going to keep it there. 5 influencer marketing trends and ways to take action. They talking to us now, chat. Right? 5 influencer marketing trends. What are the trends that people are doing as influencer that, and my assumption is making them successful, right? Here are Monday's biggest analyst calls: NVIDIA, Tesla, Snowflake, ARM, Adobe, and more. Sorry. They're telling you, chat, these are the biggest analyst calls, right? Meaning those people who spend more time in the stock market than you and I are telling you, listen, pay attention to these companies for one reason or another. That's what they're telling you. We're analyzing, or we're looking at the headlines. AOL ditching dial-up service, a relic of the internet in the 90s and early 2000s. Raise your hand if you even knew that fucking AOL was still in existence. Because I tell you, chat, like, listen, I recall a time, and I'm dating myself now. I recall a time when those discs used to come in the mail and you get those free. Dog, if I had to estimate how many free hours of internet I had from AOL, it had to be somewhere between 0 and 1 million free hours, chat. You feel me? You feel me, chat? AOL was giving free hours like it was nobody's business, bruh. Every time you got a disc in the mail, here's 88 hours of free internet. Niggas didn't even know how to get on the internet and was loaded up with 10,000 hours worth of internet service. You feel me? Sam Altman now says AGI, or human level AI, is not a super useful term. And he's not alone. So there's other people that are saying whatever he's saying, right? Minor Freeport-McMoran will benefit from Trump's copper tariffs, says Morgan Stanley. So whatever Trump did regarding tariffs and copper, right? Minor Freeport-McMoran, which I have to assume is a company, right? We're starting from the beginning, chat, and there is a picture, is apparently benefiting from whatever Trump did, right? We're reading headlines, chat. You feel me? Travel card benefits are getting harder to maximize, analyst says. What to know before you apply. If you're one of those people that love to use your credit card and get points and all these things, they're saying it's getting harder to maximize, right? But when you learn how to do it, I think it can be beneficial. I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything. I'm just saying we're reading the headlines and we're interpreting what they mean before we read any articles, right? Mall staple Claire's has filed for bankruptcy twice. Here's what could happen to the brand now. Listen, y'all not about to sit here in the chat and act like y'all don't know what Claire's is. If I had to put my money on it, 90% of the chat got their ears pierced at Claire's if you have ear piercings. You feel me? And they're telling you that Claire's filed for bankruptcy twice. That means Claire's is not doing good. But if you like Claire's, I would have to assume that if you keep your ear to the earth, chat, Claire's is probably going to start having a sale. Or somebody's going to buy Claire's out or something. So your store Claire's might become something else. Shit, it might become Beyonce's. Who knows, chat? You feel me? But what we do know is Claire's filed bankruptcy twice. That's not a good sign. Filing once is already not good, but twice, chat? Claire's filed bankruptcy twice, chat? The people that's piercing everybody's ears, you know what I'm saying? Again, they talking about stock market's biggest moves in the pre-market. That's what's highlighted up here. This is something important to pay attention to. Paramount, Skydance, we know they already got the rights to UFC. Nvidia, we don't know what Nvidia did. C3 AI, Intel, we don't know what they did. These are tech companies. They did something. If y'all using a computer or a phone or something, it's a high probability that you got an Nvidia or an Intel or an AMD chip. Right? Those are semiconductor companies and they do other things as well, but pay attention. Graphics cards, if you game on PC, if you game on Xbox, game on PlayStation, listen, pay attention. I know some people probably hearing these words for the first time. Nvidia, C3 AI, Intel, AMD, who? Listen. Check the back of your PC, chat. Check the side of your PC. Check the settings. Check the about on your computer. It's going to tell you something about one of these companies because they have chips in your computer. The S&P 500 is on the cusp of another record, right? How long can this bull keep dodging danger? They telling you that, hey, listen, S&P is going up, right? S&P, Standard & Poor's, right? 500, top 500 companies. Listen, how long can they do it, chat? But do y'all see, first of all, do y'all see the trend? Let me go full screen real quick. Chat, do y'all see the trend? Do y'all see the trend, chat? Do you see all these, like, look how much we're learning and we're not even reading the articles. We're just reading the titles, right? Some of them could be a little clickbaity, but we're talking about CNBC. We're not talking about somebody posted an article from I don't want to call out any specific websites or anything. So the chances are these articles are going to talk about what they're listing in these titles because they're trying to bring attention to them. You feel me, chat? Keep your ear to the earth, chat. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to be here too much longer, but we're running through it because we want to get folks in the mindset of investing. We got to switch it up. It don't matter what your background is, but I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you right now that while a lot of people you know are busting their ass at work, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14-hour shifts, chat, is somebody that is making passive income because they're just buying shares of companies. And they're making your salary in an hour, in a day, in a week, whatever the case is, by doing 0% of the effort that you're doing. just because they know this information. You feel me? So let's get back to it real quick. Trump-Putin talks are already a triumph for Moscow, its economy markets. Chat, what have you noticed? Are y'all getting the feeling that it's like all good news today? Right? If it's all good news, that means some companies are going to be going up today. People going to be making money. JP Morgan raises price target on CoreWeave heading into earnings, says AI ramp is intact, right? Elon Musk Tesla launches bid to supply electricity to British households. Chat. We saw earlier on the banner that it was talking about Tesla and Nvidia and all these other companies. We got to pay attention. Tesla launches a bid to supply electricity to British households, chat. You feel me? Like, many people are just assuming, okay, when you think of Tesla, you think electric vehicles. People aren't thinking that Tesla is out here trying to provide electricity to people's houses, but they are. And they put in a bid to supply electricity to British households. SoftBank founder Sun makes his biggest bet by staking the Japanese giant's future on AI. We keep hearing about AI, chat. Artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, all the AI things, right? A lot of y'all probably saw the bunnies jumping on the trampoline. You feel me? The AI generated video. It's a lot of AI generated videos, bruh. If you on Instagram and you be scrolling, you obviously can tell. Like, have y'all seen that video of the alien in Atlanta? W's in the chat if you've seen that video. Right? We're almost at the end, but I might have to bring up that video because, listen, chat. So the new American shopping mall is less Macy's, more church, bowling, Barnes and Nobles. Chat, they talking about our shopping malls now. I'm not a huge fan of shopping malls, but because, there are companies out there like Amazon that exist now, and I can buy everything from my seat right here in front of my computer or from my phone or whatever. But shopping malls are still an experience, and they still exist, and they still out here. You feel me? But they're saying it's less Macy's. Because y'all know they have what they call anchor stores, right? Right? If you're not familiar with what an anchor store is, chat, it's like, have you noticed that whenever you go to a mall, regardless of how run down the mall might be, there's always this one large store? Whether it be a Macy's, a Target, a Nordstrom, a Saks Fifth Avenue, or a ShopRite, or a CVS, or a Foreman Mill. It could be anything. That could be the anchor store, and it depends on the area, right? But those are the anchor stores. So Macy's was the anchor store in a lot of malls, chat. And many malls, like what I refer to as a standard mall, which is like you can buy some luxury items, but not as many luxury items as other malls. I'll give you two examples, right? Pentagon City, right? Pentagon City which is located in Virginia, but close to the nation's capital, has two anchor stores in there, Macy's and Nordstrom, chat. Right? Let me go full screen real quick. They have Macy's and Nordstrom. Macy's on one side of the mall, Nordstrom on the other side of the mall. They hold down that entire side of the mall. They're the anchor stores. They're the largest stores in that mall, right? Good news for everyone except for the U.S. Claire's, no, we already got our ears pierced. That's why. Facts. But that's an anchor store. But then if you go to Baltimore, you go to Towson Mall. I mean, Towson Mall, they got more luxury in there. They got Louis Vuitton, Burberry, you know what I'm saying? They got different luxury stores. And you'll see that. Some malls just have the anchor store where if you go, for example, to the Nordstrom as the anchor store, you get your luxury items from there. And you go to some where it's like, listen, like if you go to Tyson's Galleria, Nordstrom is the least luxurious store there because they have, listen, name your luxury brand. They got it in there, right? But that's how they operate in chat. That's the Anchor store. So that's what they're talking about. So now it's less Macy's, which is like an Anchor store, more church, bowling, Barnes and Nobles. It's almost like making it more hangout friendly, right? We're buying more of two stocks that were victims of unreasonable sell-offs. So there's two companies that went down and they don't believe they deserve to get down or go down. Loud Luxury is back as high-end brands look to rebound. I haven't read this article, chat, but if I had to assume, they're going to mention Louis Vuitton in this. Why do I assume that? And again, I could be completely wrong. And notice how they use Loud Luxury. Let me make an assumption about what they mean about Loud Luxury. Loud Luxury, I'll tell you right now. Let me go back full screen again, chat. Loud Luxury, and y'all getting a first row seat at some of the things today, right? There's a difference between quiet luxury and loud luxury. I tell you right now, they always going to tell you that people like rappers and athletes have loud luxury. That means they're wearing the brands. When you look at somebody and you can instantly tell what brand they're wearing because it says Amiri across the chest. They got LV all over their pants or their jacket or whatever. That's considered loud luxury, right? Gucci across the chest. Gucci across the flip-flops. That's loud luxury, right? And loud luxury went through it a little bit because people, I guess, from China were revealing that some of those products, and I can't verify whether this is real or not, but people were revealing that a lot of those luxury brand products, even though they were advertised as made in Italy, made in Paris, all these other things were still made in China. And they was pumping them bags out for $20. And they were selling it to y'all for $2,000, right? Loud luxury. So the article is telling us Loud Luxury is back as high-end brands look to rebound. So they finally cleared, I guess they're starting to clear that name, and they finally getting back to it. But that's Loud Luxury, right? So you ask your question, okay, if that's Loud Luxury, what is Quiet Luxury? Quiet Luxury could technically exist within a Loud Luxury brand, right? If you ask me, one of the loudest luxury brands is definitely Louis Vuitton, because you always know when somebody got Louis, for the most part. For the most part, chat, you typically know when somebody got Louis Vuitton. But there's also quiet luxury brands, right? Versace is a loud luxury brand. Sometimes you can tell people got on Versace just by the way their clothes look. And y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Medusa head all over, gold and black just draped all over. You feel me? But there's quiet luxury, which is like, think about this black shirt, chat. Think about this black shirt. And while you're doing it, shout out to Solo in the building. Right? A quiet luxury would be like, I got on a black shirt, chat. But little did you know, this black shirt that I got on is Chanel, right? It's not really Chanel, chat. I'm just giving you an example. Right? But that's how quiet luxury is, right? When you see people, for example, I'm just using an example, but if you see somebody like LeBron and maybe you think, oh, he got on a white t-shirt, he probably don't got on the same t-shirt that True's wearing, right? True probably got on a Hanes or a Good and Fellow white t-shirt. And LeBron probably got on a shirt that was custom made, let's call it by Chanel. Right? I heard about this from a client of mine. She lived and worked with so many different marketing teams everywhere for big name brands like Italy, France, Atlanta, and so many other places. It's definitely true. That's a fact, Bree. You feel me? So that's really the difference between quiet and loud luxury in some. Is like quiet, you never know. It looks plain, but it ain't. You feel it, you're like, ooh, this cotton and soft. You know what I'm saying? What is that? Then her husband works in finance for several companies still, and they're fucking people pockets up whenever they choose to. Listen, luxury brands have control over the consumer mind because the average consumer will get FOMO. They will, right? I get FOMO, you get FOMO, we all get FOMO. Fear of missing out, chat. That means if something that intrigues you a lot happens, right? And you don't want to miss out and you're willing to do whatever it takes to ensure you don't miss out, that is FOMO, fear of missing out. I'll tell you right now, chat, and I'm not scared to admit it. The one thing that gives me FOMO is when Beyonce comes to town. You know what I'm saying? I don't want Beyonce to come to my city and I miss her. You feel me? Shout out to the Beehive. You dig? Whenever Beyonce come to town, chat, just assume your boy's going to be there because I don't want to miss it. Y'all know what it's like. If your favorite artist or rapper come to town and you miss it, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, Jeezy. Young Jeezy don't give me FOMO. Jeezy's out here put on a whole orchestra. He got people showing up in black tie and tuxedos and stuff. He might be doing TM 103 or whatever the case is. I listen to Jeezy, but I don't get FOMO over Jeezy. So when I go through my timeline and I see everybody in black tie and they enjoying Jeezy and all this other stuff, I don't get FOMO. But I get FOMO if I'm on my timeline and people enjoying Beyonce concert and they turning up and they having a good time. I'm like, I should have been there. I should have sacrificed my money and went to see the Queen. I should have did it. I should have did it. And I'll tell you something, chat. When your peer groups, when the groups of people you hang around begin to change, you'll notice the conversations they have will change too. Because while you may be sitting there, listen, you may be sitting there, chat, and I'm not here to pocket watch nobody, but you may have had this item on your list forever. I want to get this. I want to get this loud luxury, right? I want to get, let's call it a bag, right? I want to get this handbag, this Louis Vuitton handbag. I've been looking at it forever, right? I got it in my cart. I got it in my wish list. I got a picture of it printed out, hanging on my wall, like one day, right? The bag gonna cost you $1,400. You like $1,400 a lot of money. I got to work hard for that $1,400, right? But when your circle changes, right? When you get to different conversations and you start hanging around with people with money and stuff like that, they're going to be like, oh, just go buy it. You can be like, what? They can be like, yeah, it's just $1,400. Go buy it. Go spend your money, right? Because when you reach different levels, people view money differently. It's like, well, how's it going to make you feel? If you're going to the extent where you have FOMO and you're printing out pictures and it's on your wish list and it's here and it's there and it's all over the place and it's consuming you, just buy it. Let the money come back to you, right? There's a saying that you can't have money come to you unless you let money go away from you because the money has to flow, right? You got to spend money to make money, chat. Right? So these last two articles, chat, let's go over them real quick. The last two headlines, right? How many bank accounts should you have? It's more than you think. Listen, they're gonna pitch you something. They're gonna tell you something. But I'm sure this article is going to say you should have one bank account for bills. You should have one bank account for saving and emergencies. You should have one bank account for entertainment. You should have one bank account for this and for that. Chat, I'm here to tell you that some of that stuff is true. You feel me? Some of it is true. Excuse me. Read the article to see what they're talking about. but some of it is true, right? Sometimes the difference in how you manage your money, chat, could boil down to how you're managing your money, right? I know that seems confusing, but what I mean by that is think about how difficult it is, especially if you're not the most financial savvy, to have one single bank account. Bank accounts, for the most part, are free, chat. If you got one single bank account and your money goes into that account and you pay all of your bills from that account, and then you have FOMO and you go to concerts and you go to the movies and you go to bowling and you go Macy's from that account, how hard do you think it is to track everything that's going on with your account, right? You feel me, chat? But then you're shocked. You're shocked because you overdrew your account, right? We've all been there. You're shocked you overdrew. Why'd you overdraw? Right? Because 9 times out of 10, you forgot that when you use your card on the weekend, some companies don't appear until after business on Monday. I fucking forgot I went to Chick-fil-A and that last little transaction for $8 overdrew my account because I miscalculated. I forgot about it because I didn't see it in my account, right? So I'm not saying what the article is telling you, but I'm telling you, I know that it's at least true. Having a bank account where all of your life is just happening out of that one account, chat, it's not smart. And again, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. But I'm here to tell you right now, if you are one of those people, think about how you can change. Because I'll give you a little inside scoop. Your boy True, the account where my money goes, nothing comes out of that account, chat. If it comes out of that account, I have to do it, right? I don't give anyone access to my money directly. My money goes into my account, and it might sound tedious, right? And we'll get to those things at a later date, but you can set up systems to help you out. But if you're one of those people who your money goes into this one account and your bills come out of this one account and you have entertainment out of this one account, it's going to get confusing for you, chat. Especially as you get to the point where you're making more money, right? You need to get a hold of that right now. Because listen, if you've ever been in a situation where you're paying a bill or you're covering your expenses, and then all of a sudden a company accidentally run the wrong amount on your account, chat, I see articles. I'm on this app called Nextdoor, right? If you know, you know. But it's an app for people who share similar communities, and they tell you about things that go on in the community. And people on Nextdoor talk about it all the time. Have y'all looked at y'all electric bill lately? My electric bill was 3 times as much. Can you imagine if your electric bill is, for example, $100 a month, and then 1 month it's 3 times as much, but you have it on auto pay and they take out $300 and you didn't realize that much was going to come out? That could throw off your whole system, chat. I'm not a financial advisor. But if you're operating out of one bank account, chat, out of one single account, first of all, read this article because it may give you some ideas, but at least have 2. Because I'll tell you, chat, it is a lot easier, especially if you're someone that's really trying to get a hang on your finances, to know that the money you're working for is here and you can transfer that money or some of that money over here and your bills are coming out of this account. Because at the end of the day, knowing that this balance over here where your money is going into is always going to be the same unless you change it, gives you peace on its own, chat. Let's look at that last article real quick. Gen AI is coming for online checkout and seismic shift for internet shopping. This is a fact. I don't know what they're talking about on here, chat, but I'll tell you right now. My kids love French fries from McDonald's. And I used to use the McDonald's app and I stopped, but I went back to using it. Now it's like if you use the app, they automatically can charge you. They probably been doing it forever, but chat, they doing it. You feel me? So yeah, it's that time, right? So True has definitely switched over because y'all know I deal with finance. I deal with finance in all different areas. And I know. And I'm a consumer too. Can't you tell? Can't you tell I'm a consumer, chat? Can't you tell that my kids have all this stuff, right? I didn't buy all this stuff, but I definitely bought a lot of these Hot Wheels, right? But let's get it together, chat. And I'm going to help you one step at a time. So today you learn what a stock is and how buying even just one share of stock can give you ownership in a company, right? So even if you have FOMO, let's say you can't afford that Louis Vuitton bag that you're aiming for. Did you know you can buy shares of Louis Vuitton? Louis Vuitton, Moet, Hennessy, right? You can buy shares of those companies. The companies that maybe you can't afford the products, you can buy shares of the company and own part of the company. That's what people be saying. Because if you buy shares of the company, let's say, for example, I can't afford a Louis Vuitton bag. I got FOMO. I got pictures printed out. I want it, but I don't have enough money just yet, right? Dividends equal payouts. Exactly, right? Maybe you can't afford the bag, but you can afford to own part of the company. And eventually, as that company's making money and they're paying you, like Step Back said, dividends, they're increasing how much money you have. They're increasing your value. They're increasing how much money you have in your account, right? Eventually, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually you may just have enough to buy that bag from owning a piece of that company. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know the vibes, chat. But W's in the chat. Because if you didn't learn something today, listen, maybe you got it all together. And shout out to you, right? But not everybody got it together, right? Not everybody got it together. And like I told y'all can always ask me. You can ask me any question. If I don't know the answer, I'll just say I don't know the answer. And it don't have to be dealing with finance. It could be any question. You feel me? And maybe if we're on live and you ask that question, I'll try to find the answer. Shout out to Ice in the building. You can buy the bag out of dividends. Listen to Step. He know what he talking about, chat. But we're going to start at the very beginning. So this was day one. This was, what is a stock? What is a dividend? What is a publicly traded company? Those are the basics. But keep your ear to the earth, chat. Look at CNBC. Look at all those articles. Look at how much we learn from just reading the title of articles. You feel me, chat? So if I have $1, is that enough to buy a stock, for example, Amazon? While Ice Flow in the chat may or may not be serious about his question, the answer to the question is yes. $1 is maybe not enough to buy a full share, but there are platforms, and I'm not going to advertise any platforms. You can go research a platform for yourself that allow you to purchase what they call partial shares. So, to answer Ice's question for the chat, if I have $1, is that enough to buy a stock, for example, Amazon? The answer is yes, but it is not enough to own a full share of the stock. And let me show you what I mean really quick, right? in Ice's example, he's asking about Amazon, right? He's asking about Amazon, chat. Amazon is AMZN. That's called a ticker symbol. That's just abbreviating the company's name so that way they can be identified on the stock market. Amazon.com. You see that? We talked about Apple, how it costs $229.35 to buy one share of Apple. To buy one share of Amazon, chat, it costs $220.99. Can you guys see that? Yes, you can see it. $220.99 to buy one complete share of Amazon. But if True wants to start off somewhere, and True only has $1, or ICE only has $1, as he said, can I still invest in Amazon? The answer is yes, chat. But it depends on the platform, because certain platforms, right, or brokerages, which is similar to like a bank, right? So a bank, you can have a checking account, savings account. A brokerage, you can have an account where it lets you invest in companies, right? So some brokerage accounts allow purchasing partial shares. So if I have $1, I may not own one share of Amazon, but I can own 0.01 of Amazon, right? So if we're answering ICE's question, if I have $1, is it enough to buy a stock? For example, Amazon. You can buy a partial share, ICE. Not the full share, because the full share will cost you $220. You need an additional $220 to get one complete share of Amazon, right? Okay, so without a full share, you won't get the dividends, right? So it just depends, right? So let's say correct. Typically, a company will pay you dividends based on the shares you own. But I'm going to caveat it because, again, chat, I don't know every nuance of everything. We will need to look up if you can get paid dividends on partial shares. So let's see. Can you be paid dividends on partial shares? So if Amazon pays a dividend and I own $1 of Amazon, which is a partial share, the answer is yes, you can receive dividends on fractional shares, though the amount you receive will be proportional to the fraction of the share owned. So let's say, for example, if, let's call it, a dividend is paid by Amazon and their dividend is $1 per share. That means you need to own a full share, $220.99 to receive the $1, right? They'll pay you a fraction of that $1 based on the fraction of that share that you own. And look, chat, here's the example. If you own 0.5 shares, a half of a share, right? Because if you're familiar with math, you know 0.5 is 50%, so half of a share. And the company pays a $2 dividend per share, you would receive $1. There is the answer to Step Back's question. Without a full share, you won't get the dividends. Without a full share, you can. There's the answer right there. Yes, you can receive dividends on fractional shares. As highlighted by Appreciate Wealth, if you own 50.5 shares or half of a share, and the stock pays a $10 dividend per share, we'll call it dollars, you will receive $5. So they pay you based on the fraction of the share that you own. And it says minimum payout threshold. So there are caveats, right? While most brokers pass on the proportional dividend, some may have a minimum payout threshold, meaning 1 cent. So if your percentage share of that dividend isn't at least 1 cent, they may not give it to you. Below which you might not receive the dividend, exactly. Or different treatment might apply, meaning they may hold your fractional portion until your fractional portion equals up to 1 cent and then pay you the 1 cent. So if they pay dividends monthly, maybe you need 3 months worth of dividend payouts to equal that 1 cent. Now we're talking real short amounts, chat, but these are real life situations. Some people start because they only have maybe $1 or $2, but you can start with that amount. So particular shares, yep. Payouts, particular dividends, exactly. Y'all see that, chat? Partial shares equal partial dividends if the company pays out dividends. Y'all see how we started at step 1 and we got here? You feel me? Look how much we learned in chat. Off of true talking and off of 2 questions. Y'all see how much we learned? Y'all see how we went to CNBC and we just read the titles of articles and we ended up here, chat? You feel me? Sorry, chat. That TV is connected to my monitor, so I don't want that TV to time out because then it'll blink my monitor. That reminds me of the payout on Twitch, right? So Twitch has a threshold payout of what, $50? And they have an automatic payout structure. So anytime you earn at least $50 on Twitch for the month, they pay you out. No problem, Ice. You know, you can ask any question here. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find the answer. You feel me? You feel me, chat? But we're talking about investing. Because investing will absolutely change some folks' lives, right? It will absolutely change some folks' lives. And I'm not going to say I'm going to be the one to change your life. You have to do that for yourself. But can I give you a little bit of information that can change your life? Absolutely. Am I a financial advisor? Absolutely not. So everything I'm saying is just for entertainment. So if you're entertained, W's in the chat. You feel me? Because I'll tell you right now, you will be absolutely amazed, chat, at especially, again, we're not pocket watching nobody. But if you are a person that makes minimum wage, you will be absolutely amazed at the things you can learn and the skills you can apply to invest in. And let's say it like this. With the knowledge I have about the stock market, chat, I can absolutely make minimum wage. There's no doubt about that. With my knowledge of the stock market, I can make a minimum wage salary. No doubt about it. Right? But what that means in terms of a lifestyle, right? And this can mean the same for any of you. That means that you never know where life may take you, right? Lord willing, it always takes you up. But listen, if you're in a situation where people fall back on hard times or hardships or financial difficulties, and they end up having to go back to, for example, a minimum wage job, again, we're not judging nobody. We're educating, right? I'm confident that it won't be true. Because if it worst came to worse, I could always go online. If I have access to the internet, which I could go to a library, get a library card, I could do anything, and I have access to the internet, I can make a minimum wage salary. Right? And that could be the same for you if you're one of those people. It's all about learning and understanding what it means. But chat, there is a lot of money out here, bro. Y'all should know that. Have you ever been on a Twitch stream of someone popular? Have y'all ever experienced the first 2 to 3 minutes of a Kai Cenat stream? Have you, chat? If you've never experienced the first 2 to 3 minutes of a Kai Cenat stream, I'm here to tell you, and I'm just using Kai Cenat as an example. But if you've never experienced the first 2 to 3 minutes of a Kai Cenat stream, I encourage you right now, turn on your notifications. Go follow Kai Cenat, turn on your notifications, and when he goes live, join it and watch. On many, many, many occasions. We know about hype trains, chat. We know what it takes to get a hype train, right? We know what it takes to get a level 2 hype train, chat, right? A lot of us are really new to streaming. A lot of us have never even experienced the hype train. A lot of us have never made it past a level 1 hype train, right? But we know what a hype train means, right, chat? If you've been on a Kai Cenat stream, I'm here to tell you, I have witnessed on several occasions with my own eyes. Before Kai Cenat even show his face on screen, when he goes live and he shows his little ad or his little whatever in the beginning for the first 2 minutes, chat, I've seen him hit a level 15, a level 18 hype train. There's money out here to be made, chat, in all different areas of life. Yeah, you can inbox me on Discord. You already know, Ice. You feel me? There's money out here to be made. And one of the ways, is in the stock market, which has been for years and centuries absent to many people. Right? I don't know who's watching me. We got over 1 point, you know what I'm saying? We got almost 2 million people in the chat. I don't know who's watching me. I don't know what their situation is, right? If you're a homeless person in DC, remember Trump is warning you. But the difference is with access to a computer, right? With access to $1, right, chat? Let's use a random fictitious example right now. Using what we learned today. A homeless person with access to their own personal information can also get access to the internet in many different ways. There are places you can go to get access to an internet. For example, a library. They still exist, right? A homeless person could go to a library, gain access to the internet, establish a brokerage account with their personal information. All this is free. They could panhandle. They could get $1 from panhandling for the day. They could take that $1 and they could deposit that $1 in their brokerage account. They could use said brokerage account to buy a partial share of Amazon. While you may not be a large Amazon holder, but you went from homeless to an Amazon shareholder overnight. Right? And while it may not grow fast, just using the knowledge that we learned, if Amazon is paying a dividend, that $1 they invested in Amazon could become $1.01, $1.02, $1.03. That's just off a dividend. But the price of Amazon could go up. So if Amazon went from, let's call it $221, which it is today, to $300, their investment of $1 could now be worth $1.05. Now, instead of getting 1 cent dividend, they might get 2 cents dividend. So now they went from $1 chat to $1.07, $1.09, $1.11. You see that, chat? So that $1 they earn from panhandling, right? Because panhandling is still work, right? Somebody's got to do it, right? They earned the $1, they invested the $1, and they made 11% off of it. They made 11 cents, chat. Yes, we're talking very small numbers, but the fact remains, this is real. Multiply that number. Let's say they made $100 from panhandling. They made $11 from investing at 100, right? They invested 1,000. They made $110. They invested 10,000, right? They made $1,100. You feel me, chat? Do y'all feel me? Stormy is into the chat. What is good, Stormy? How you feeling? We're happy to have you here. We're talking about investing. We're talking about starting at the lowest level possible of investing and building from there, right? And when I say the lowest level, I'm talking about what is a stock, right? Shout out to the people who drink coffee. I know the vibes. But my weekend was good. I started talking about my experience of going to the casino, to me actually getting my kids majority ready for school, to hanging out with my friends. You know, it was a weekend. You know what I'm saying? It was a weekend, chat. You have a friend that invests is doing great so far. Shout out to that friend. Because listen, if they're doing great now, they're going to continue to do great things. Because the first step is just getting in the game. But to get in the game, you got to know how to get in the game. You got to know how to play the game, chat. The same rules that I apply to everything in life is the same rules I apply to the stock market, the same rules I apply to Twitch. Y'all been here. Some of y'all been here from the beginning. Y'all know True been streaming for less than 3 months. We're almost at 3 months, chat. We're just over 70 days, right? Y'all been following the journey. Y'all know I read, right? To know how to play this Twitch game, to learn how to profit, how to build a community organically, how to reach people, right? You feel me? We're not in one viewer purgatory. That's a blessing. You feel me? But we do that by learning how to play the game. And to learn how to play the game, you have to read the rules and you have to understand the rules, right? We read the rules, chat. The rules on Twitch are the terms of service. We read them together. We did the creator camp. You feel me? That's the same thing we're going to do with the stock market. That's the same thing we're going to do with anything we decide to talk about, because y'all know True don't stay on topic. I jump around, but it's all to try to add value to you guys' life, because what we doing, chat? We're going from zero to hero. We're going from someone that nobody knows to someone that everybody knows, right? Bree know us. Stormy know us. Ice know us. Step Back know us. Solo know us. What are we doing, chat? We're not making this shit up. We're doing it live. We're not gatekeeping. We're giving away all the quote unquote sauce, right? Shout out to the Pure Fam, right? Also know us, Michael ___ Leakim, which is Michael spelled backwards, know us. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to those guys. You feel me? But to do that, you have to know how to play. You have to know how to play the game. You have to know the rules, right? If you're wondering why you never won in Monopoly, right? I'm here to tell you it's because you've never read the rule book. W to that, chat. W to that, chat. Why can't I win in Monopoly? Because I never read the rules on how to play. That's why we fucking read, chat. Right? Why haven't I won? Stormy, why haven't I won? Because I never read the rules. Once you read the rules, you're going to see the key piece of information that you're missing that helps you win the game. Right? There's a key piece of information that you never learn because you learn the rules from listening to people talk and people explain it to you, right? But when people explain it, they're not going to explain it the way the rules were made to be explained. They're going to miss something, right? Shout out to the community building. Shout out to Bree following Stormy. Y'all do the same. Shout out to Stormy for being in the building, right? Applaud the community. You feel me? Applaud the the chat. We giving good information. These are keys. This is just motivational at this point. You got to read the rules, chat. You got to read the rules, right? You know what I'm saying? You got to read the rules. That's how you know how to play. Reading the rules. And I'm going to say it again. You have to read the rules. If you want to win in Monopoly, if you want to win in life, you have to read the rules. Why do I keep getting in trouble at work? Because I got hired, but I never read the rules. I never read the rule book. I never read the code of conduct, right? I never wrote the SOPs. I never read the procedures. I didn't read all of that. Because if you read it, you would know how to operate, right? Right, chat? This goes for anyone. This goes for the minimum wage worker. How do you know what the rules are if you don't read them? You letting somebody drain your life away where you didn't realize, oh, I'm supposed to get 2 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch break? I've only been getting 30 minutes for lunch since I started working here. Why? Because I never read the rules. I didn't know my manager was not going to walk around telling me to take my 15-minute break. I didn't know that. I didn't know that for me to take my 15-minute break, one had to be before lunch and one had to be after lunch. I never read the rules. So when I tried to overcompensate and take 2 15-minute breaks after my lunch, I couldn't do it. My manager told me no. How can you deny me when I'm supposed to get 2 15-minute lunch breaks? That's not the rule. The rule is you get one before lunch, you get one after lunch, chat. All areas of life, read the rules so you know how to play the game. Don't just skip over the rules. When you learn how to read the rules, you learn how to play the game. And when you know how to play the game, you know how to win. Why can't I win in Uno? You never read the rules. You're the same person who keeps showing up at everyone's house trying to put a draw 2 on a draw 4. You cannot do that. It's not in the rules. You cannot do that. If somebody puts down a draw 4, you got to draw 4, my boy. You feel me? Shout out to WAP in the building. Read the fucking rules, chat. That's all it is. That's all it is, chat. It's reading the rules. Berserk in the building. Why do I keep getting hit with a draw 4? Because you don't know how to defend yourself against the draw 4. Why do I keep losing at checkers? Because you never read the rules of checkers, right? Why do I lose at chess? You never read the rules. You just assume you know how to play. Why do I keep losing at Connect 4? You never read the rules. You don't know how to play. You think you know how to play. I've been playing for years. I know how to play. No, you don't. You never read the rules. If you read the rules, you would know the loopholes. You would know how to chat. It's the same for everything. If you own a business, right? Why is somebody's business who's making millions of dollars paying $0 in taxes, while my business that makes $100,000 a year is paying $50,000 in taxes? Why is that, chat? Because that person running that $1 million business, when they started off, they read the rules. What are the rules? The rules is the IRS code. When you read the rules, you know how to play the game, chat. I got to keep reiterating that. That's why we read here. Because when we read, we learn. We learn. That's why we started off at the very basics of the stock market. Many of you today came in, you knew what a stock was, but did you? Did you? You knew what a stock was, but did you? Did you know a stock and a share, right? You knew that give you ownership of a company no matter how small the piece of it is? Did you know you can buy fractional shares? Did you know you can still get paid dividends based off your fractional shares? Did you know all that, chat? You may have known it. Somebody didn't. Shout out for folks asking the questions. You feel me? That's the vibe. That's the vibe, chat. So what we learned today. I'm going to show you what we learned today, chat. We're going to sum it up real quick. Chat. Y'all stay right there. We're going to sum it up. Let's see. Let's see if we got one, chat. Let's just make a real quick point. Let's see if we got one. Here we go. Let's see if it's one in here, chat. Let's see if it's one in here. Oh, look at that, chat. Y'all know I'm a fan of Harry Potter. Don't act brand new. Y'all already know. It's House Hufflepuff over this bitch. You feel me? That's my Harry Potter Uno set. And look what came in there, chat. That be the rules. That's the rules, chat. That's the rules right there. in the rules, right? They have a section called winning. When a player plays their final card, they win. Time to shuffle the cards and play again, right? But how do you win? They give you the strategy, the setup, how to play, calling Uno, right? The moment you only have one card in your hand, you must yell Uno to alert the other players you are about to win. However, if someone beats you to it and calls out Uno before the next player takes their turn, then you must draw 2 cards. Why do I keep getting Uno, chat, but I never win the game? Why? Why do I keep having to draw 2 cards, chat? Where'd this rule come from? I'm not familiar with it. You never read the rules. Because if you did, you would have known all you had to do was call out Uno. And it shouldn't be that hard because you should know before anyone else that you're going to have 1 card. Because you can look at the deck and say, oh, of these 2 cards in my hand, I can put down 1. And when I put down 1, I'm going to be ready to yell Uno. You must do that. Because if Stormy or Berserk or WAP call Uno before me, then I can't win. I'm worse off than I was right before that round because now instead of having 2 cards or 1 card, I got 3 because I got to draw 2. Why? Because Berserk read the rules. WAP read the rules. You feel me? Stormy read the rules. They're more likely to win because they read the rules, chat. W for that. You feel me? W's in the chat for that. So yeah, so we've been talking today, chat, but y'all stay right there because y'all know the vibes. Y'all boy actually has to work. I read the rules and I definitely got to start going to work now. You feel me? You feel me, chat? So indulge me while we fucking find somebody to raid. But it's a W community. So before we just go looking for people, you know what I'm saying? We like to check our Discord chat. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what we got going on, chat. A lot of people responded last night, chat. You feel me? Ooh. So in the Discord, I see exactly who we got chatting. You know what I'm saying? But don't y'all go nowhere just yet. We gotta support each other. You feel me, chat? So we got Bree on there. So let's go. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? And y'all know the vibes. Y'all know when I hit that button. Let's go support Bree, chat. Y'all stay right there. Y'all don't go nowhere. Y'all make sure y'all turn up when we go to Bree. She chilling. Y'all make sure y'all turn up when we go to Bree. You feel me? Show Bree some love. Put them raid trains up in that chat. Use that raid train icon, chat. And we're going to keep learning. We're going to keep reading the rules. And we're going to come up. You feel me? We're going from 0 to hero. Appreciate y'all showing me love today. Let's go get that love to Bree.